Hey guys, welcome back. Well, here's my latest project. It's a 1967 International Scout 800. It has a 152 cubic inch four-cylinder engine producing about 80 some plus horsepower, almost 90 horsepower. It has a 3-speed manual transmission. It has a dual stick transfer case. But the real thing that catches us on this is that it has a 488 gear ratio. And if anybody knows what that means, it means it does great rock crawling and can go up some mountains. But here in the Midwest, we've just got big open plains. So we're going to take this truck and we're going to make it a little bit more practical. And here we have a 2003 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD with the 6-liter V8 and a 4L80 transmission behind it. We're going to transplant all of this powerhouse, including wiring harnesses and everything else, to retromod our 1967 International Scout. Let's talk about the history of the International Scout. The International Scout started out as the first model, which was the Scout 80. It was produced in 1962. In 1962, they came out with this vehicle, which was to rival the Jeep. And what they wanted to do is make a vehicle that you could take to church on Sunday, take to work on Monday through Friday, but then turn around by the Friday afternoon, and by the weekend, you could go out and hit the streams, hit the mountains, go mudding, do a whole bunch of stuff in it. They wanted a multi-purpose vehicle, something you could do a little bit of everything in. But they had multiple versions of this. They had a truck version with a smaller cab on it. They had this version. They had a camper version. They had a soft top version. All of these with the tops that would all come off. So you could have yourself a nice convertible, similar to the way a Jeep is, but with a little bit more luxuries of the time. Well, they became one of the top selling SUVs, as you would call it, in their time. And some of the other manufacturers started to notice what was going on, like Ford Motor Company. And that's why in 1964 and 65, the Bronco was introduced. The Bronco came out because they saw that this was popular and it appeased to people that wanted to have something that they could drive around during the week, going to and from work and getting groceries, but yet could go out on the weekend and go to a picnic or go camping or whatever else. That was the whole goal of this vehicle. So Ford said, hey, we want a piece of that pie. And that's what kind of started this whole SUV craze. Well, as the years went by, they did some modernizations to these. They added the V8s to them. They had a 6-cylinder. They had a 4-cylinder. They had an automatic. And then they came out with the Scout 2, which the Scout 2 was a bigger platform. It had a bigger inside. It had a bigger body. And they lasted up until the 1980. And the problem with it was that International decided that they were going to focus on the medium to heavy truck division, and they were going to drop out of this particular field in this particular area because they could see that the competition from the other manufacturers was really starting to kick in. And I don't think they really had all the resources available to them to continue to push this vehicle. But when this vehicle came out, it became an instant success with a lot of consumers because it allowed them to not have to have a Jeep and then a car and then a truck and then it was kind of the multi, Swiss Army knife of vehicles. And I'm that kind of person. I like that. I own a Jeep, I own a Chevy Avalanche, and those vehicles, appeal to me because you can do more than just drive them to and from work. They're not just a standard SUV. That's what's neat about those vehicles. And this one actually came to me as a great idea to eventually own and or redo so it's more modernized, because I like the idea that you can take the top off and go cruising around, or it has the look of an old school feel, but yet we can make it more modern today. And that's why I think these things have become popular once again. And that's why I decided to pick myself up a 1967 International Scout. So let's talk about how we ended up with the Scout. Back last year, I was going to order a new Bronco. I really thought they were neat. They appealed to me. I said, hey, Ford, you can take my money. But as the production started on the Fords, I noticed that they were having a lot of delays, and there were quite a few little problems that they had. A lot of that's been worked out, and I do like the Bronco. But at the time, I just felt as though something wasn't right for me. It just wasn't the vehicle. I really like something that's still got that old school feel. And I understand it was going back to its heritage. The Bronco was jumping back to its original roots. But because of delays and things like that, I said, you know what, that's it. I want something that I can modernize, something that I can make and have fun with. And one afternoon, I was browsing the internet, and it dawned on me that the International Scout existed. I completely forgot about it. And I started digging it up, and I found on Craigslist a listing all the way out in Arkansas for one, this particular one. And I had all but talked myself out of getting it. I still wanted one, but going out there to get it, I thought I was kind of crazy for doing it. Well, my wife was the one who said, hey, let's go on a road trip. So I called the guy up or sent him a couple messages, and he said, yeah, it's still available. And of course, I said, rust wise, how does it look? And overall, this one is in really good condition. I've looked all over it, I've looked under it, above it, and everything else. And he also said, hey, it does run, which was a big plus. So I said, you know what? I will come out and pick it up. Um, Let me just figure out if this is, what my wife wants to do. Well, when my wife found out what the International Scout was and saw a picture of it, she goes, wow, that's a cool little vehicle. I think that's cool. Maybe, you should go get it. The price is right. So we got our truck. We went out west or southwest and went to drive. I think we drove a total of like 12 or 13 hours or whatever it was to get there and pick it up. Well, as we went out there, we had this little trailer and we were getting ready to pull in, and I thought, okay, I've either made the best decision I've ever made, or this is going to be one of those worst decisions. Well, when I actually got into the truck and I backed it out of this barn that they had it in, the first thing my wife said is, oh my God, it's adorable. So I load this thing up. She thinks it's the neatest thing that she's seen. She goes, that is a cute vehicle. And she goes, but it's got to have a name. It's got to have a name. And I was like, well, you think about it. As we drive down the road, she's taking pictures in the rear view mirror of my truck of the Scout on the trailer. And she goes, I've got it. And this is after about a couple hours of driving. I go, you got it. What are you talking about? She says, I've got the nickname. And I said, well, what's that? And she goes, Scooter. She goes, Scooter the Scout. And so begins the transformation of Scooter the Scout into a more modern vehicle, something that will last for generations. But we drive it, we get it all the way home on this trailer, we get it in the driveway, and my wife says, I think this is going to be one of the most fun projects you've ever done. And I've done a lot of projects, and I've done a lot of restorations of things, and worked on cars in the past, other people's cars, other antique cars, but nothing that I could actually consider my own. I've always done it for somebody else. Now, garden tractors and things like that, I've restored and done. I've, remodeled things, I've rebuilt things for myself, but I've never built a car for myself. And I said, this is my latest project. So now we have a 1967 Scooter the Scout to work on, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm going to have lots of videos about this and the whole progress along the way. This is a project that I can't wait to do. My wife is 100% behind me. She was the one who pushed me into doing this project, and I am excited to see the final touches and the finished product when this thing's done. But stay tuned, keep watching. I plan on putting more videos up about this truck, and hopefully you're going to get to see it rolling down the highway, and we'll be doing footage of places we go and things we do with Scooter the Scout.